I am going to tell you a story about a precious little kitty. And I'm going to tell you a story about love. I am sure that many of us have experienced the loss of a member of our family, a fur baby, as people like to say, a pet, a precious member of our family. And this story is about the life and love and loss of just such a family member. His name was Yoda, but we called him Bubby, and I'll tell you about that in a minute. Let me just tell you, about 7 years ago, Claude and I had the opportunity to go to practice and live in part-time in Abu Dhabi, United Arab Emirates. Like many countries, there are a lot of little kitties roaming the streets there. It's a port city, so of course there are kitties that work their way around the port, get the fish, that sort of thing. But there are kitties everywhere, just like so many places. And we were lucky enough in our villa, which is what they call houses there, to discover a few little kitties roaming around, and there was a cat nearby who had had kittens. We adopted one little cat from the litter who sat on our windowsill every morning, and finally we decided we're going to bring this little several-week-old baby in. And we did. Then, all of a sudden, we start seeing one that looks so much like our first one. And when I took a good look at him, and it turned out to be him, he looked pitiful. He was so in need of being taken in. He was so pitiful. His little eyes were crusted. He was just probably 2 months, 3 months old when I started seeing him. And his little eyes were crusted with goo and black, and his ears were full of mites, and his tail was black with the oil from the street, and he was a skinny little thing and just pitiful. And we found him and thought we need to bring him in. So we started feeding some of these little kitties anyway because they needed some food, and we thought it would be nice to what's called TNR, which is trap, neuter, and release. But the main thing that we were interested in at that moment, or I was certainly, was getting a hold of this little cat that was so in need. And sure enough, over time, and that's all in the story that I'm going to tell you, we did. It took some doing. It was full of a few tragic moments, and it was full of heartbreak and yet love after, because we did finally get a hold of him. And as he got to be familiar to us, we realized he was a litter mate to the first one we had taken in, little Mish. So now Bubby, as we grew to call him because his sister, Mish, and he, Bubby, had been litter mates, or were litter mates, and we were amazed at how he brought us, especially Yoda and Bubby, brought us to the experiences of Abu Dhabi as a neighborhood, as a community, to the wonderful vets that helped us with him because he needed a lot of help, and that's part of the story too. His story is one of absolute tragedy at first, joy and happiness later, love throughout, and of course, loss at the end. And I am going to share that story with you. In about a week, it will be on Amazon.com. It will be available in Kindle or in paperback, and I can't begin to tell you how much I know that you'll identify and love all of the stories because you've had this too. You know how much you can love, and this little boy taught us so much, and it'll be called Yoda. It's all about love, and I encourage you to go check it out, get a hold of it, read either the Kindle or the paperback version from Amazon, and enjoy it. And let me know what you think, because it is just something that we deal with daily in the love that he left us and the way he changed our lives and the story of Abu Dhabi. You'll love it. It's so wonderful to hear and see and feel through Bubby's story. So I encourage you to check it out. Amazon.com in about a week.